Hello again, welcome to this tutorial on how to build a compact clockless brewing system. It keeps running until you tell it to stop, but it doesn't need a clock. I just said the same thing twice. Anyway, this is a modified system. It's a modification of my last brewing system. It's just a little bit better. You pick your modifier here, and whether or not you want it to be a splash potion there, and then you switch it on by pulling this lever. These item frames here are mainly there to add balance to the front. This is where you add bottles, this is where potions come out, and this is your brewing ingredient. So here we're making regen potions. There's also a couple of indicator lamps. This one is on when the system is on, and this one flashes at the start of every new cycle. And additionally, just for fun, I've added some Noteblocks. They make a sound at the start, in the middle, and at the end. That final one is when you've switched the system off and it's come to the final end of the final cycle, if that makes any sort of sense. Anyways, on with the show. The clockless mechanism uses an idea that Etho came up with, which is to add nether wart last instead of first, and you can use this in such a way to make the system self-aware so that it doesn't need a clock to know when the cycle has ended. It can actually detect it, which does make the system a lot more robust. The footprint of this system is 6 by 6 blocks, and it's 7 blocks high. But as you saw in the last clip, it's easy to hide a lot of it in a wall or underground, so it doesn't actually look as big as it is. And the idea behind the system was to create something that could easily be hidden in a wall and not take all that much space. So the ingredients you need are here. I will put actual item amounts in the video description, but this is basically what you need to build it. So we start by placing a double chest here with a hopper going into it, brewing stand on top, and then a hopper into that on the top and into it from the side, and another hopper here, and then a double chest on top of that, but not that way. I'm doing well. Next, let's fill in the front. Fairly straightforward. Just a little block placing. And you need stairs on top of these, otherwise the chest won't open. And then lastly, if you do want lamps here and here, put them in, but they can also just be blocks that will transmit power. And then you need a lever there, there, and there. Now we're going to put in the mechanism that controls the release of bottles between cycles. So if we just take out a layer of blocks at the back here, it makes it a lot easier to see. You want a block there and there, a redstone torch on top of this one with another block on top of that, and then repeaters going into these blocks with redstone dust connecting them, and this one needs to be set to 2 ticks. Next, let's put in the droppers and the hoppers that hold the ingredients. So you need droppers pointing inwards like this, 5 of them. And then you connect them up with hoppers, as in my previous system, if they form a line going like that into this hopper. And then the next thing is to put in the pistons that control the selection of the modifiers. So you want a piston here facing upwards and one there. And we connect these to the levers like this. Redstone dust, make sure to use slabs, otherwise you'll be transferring power where you don't want it. And a repeater there, and then place blocks on top of these or next to them as required. And you can see that'll control that one, and this one will control the one at the back. And now let's put in the on-off circuit. This is a little bit weird. The reason for said weirdness is A, to make it compact, and B, to prevent any bud powering happening. So create this, make sure to fill this with water. Doesn't matter how much water, it can be 1, 2, or 3 level, as it were. Comparator, and then a piston facing downwards and a block on it like that. And then when you flick this switch, you can see it'll activate that piston. Now the mechanism that controls when a new cycle starts comes from a comparator placed here with a slab there and a full block there. This needs to be a slab so that it doesn't power the hopper below there. And then you want a redstone dust there and a torch there. And this then passes power to the rest of the system along here. Repeater here, set it to 4 ticks and into blocks placed like this. Redstone dust along here, and then repeaters there and there. And you will also need to place a block under this dropper so that it receives power, and then cut that line so the redstone faces into this block. We then send power to the bottle mechanism down here, redstone and a torch there. And we send power up to these droppers like this. A slab here to prevent bud powering from happening, and then a block there and there. So it needs to look like that. And then you place redstone just along here, repeater there, and redstone there, and that will power that dropper. And then to send power to this dropper, just simply place a slab there so that you don't power that piston, and redstone dust. Now the last bit of redstone that we need to do is add the circuit that will empty the bottles at the end when the system is switched off. And that's very straightforward. Place a repeater out of this block and then redstone into that block there. Now there's just a few things left to do. First, this dropper needs 22 items in it. They need to be items that stack to 64 and that can't go into the brewing stand below. And this is what makes this comparator able to detect if there's an ingredient in here or not. And then the actual ingredients go into these droppers. You've got your main potion ingredient in the first one, gunpowder in the second one, glowstone and redstone in the third and fourth ones, doesn't matter which way round, and then nether wart in the final one. And for completeness, let's just add that to the controls here. Let's see, redstone, glowstone, and gunpowder. You will also need to add 1 nether wart into the system at the very start. You won't need to do it again unless the system somehow messes up, but normally you won't have to do that. It's just at the start when you first build it. And then you place bottles in this chest here. And if you want to fill in blaze powder automatically, you can do that as well. It's a little bit finicky. It's best to place it in the final slot there, the final slot here, and the final slot there. And then you can also place it straight in as well. And that way, bottles get priority, but because only 3 of them can go into the system at any one time, most of the time this will be filling with blaze powder. Now if you want to add the note blocks, there's obviously loads of different tunes you could do. If you want to copy what I did, you'll need grass blocks or dirt blocks to get the piano sound. Place them in this configuration, and one around the back here as well, and then note blocks on top of them. And at the back here you'll also need a block there and a redstone repeater there set to 2 ticks. Note block there, and you'll need to extend this wire there so that this one will trigger. This is a cutaway view of the layer that has the note blocks in it, and the numbers indicate the number of right clicks you need to do on each note block to get the tune that I made. That's the system done, but if you do want to balance out the look on the front like I did, then it's just item frames there, there and there, and then your main ingredient there, water bottle there, and actual potion down there. And if you do want to add an iron trapdoor here to cover the hopper a little bit, it's a little bit finicky. Easiest way is to place an iron trapdoor there, piston there, take out this block, power it, and then you want to take out the piston first and then the lever, and that'll do it. And that's the system. A couple of final things to note are that the way the system works, it is possible to change your modifier preferences while the system is running. If you change them, it'll use the new options the next time a cycle starts. You don't actually have to switch the system off, change your modifiers, and then start it again, which is really useful. And lastly, if you do want to have modifier options for Dragon's Breath and Fermented Spider Eye, it is possible to add those as well. It does make the system a little bit bigger though, it makes it 2 blocks wider. But if you would like to see that, leave a comment and I will help you out. That's it for now, and yes, enjoy!